luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware. Wow, my mind malfunctions into this reverse. Smile, I walk to get a drink from the machine. Wow, my mind malfunctions. The luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware.
Hey everyone, I'm Jaimme-Lee Lee and I'm 11 Australia's global brand artist, and I am so excited for today's live tube video because I'm going to be taking you through on a journey on how I created my 6 beautiful looks that won me the WA Hairdresser of the Year for the Australian Hair Fashion Awards. So for those of you that don't know me, I have been doing hairdressing for over 15 years and I own a beautiful salon that you guys can see in the background in WA, Perth, Australia. And recently I wanted to start getting into competition work. So if this is something that you've been thinking about doing or ever wanted to know how a collection comes to life, I'm going to be walking you through the 6 beautiful works. I'm going to be taking you through the headspace of what I went into, because I think that was the most beautiful thing about this collection was I absolutely loved who I became when I started creating this. So I'm going to give you all my knowledge. Anything that you want to know, please make sure you ask. But before we go into it, I want to show you a video of the BTS of how this photo shoot came together. So let's have a little look. So the little video that you just saw was a snippet over 8 months. When I went to the Australian Hair Fashion Awards in 2023, I left that night and I had a really beautiful conversation with someone, and I said, next year, I want to be walking away with the WANT Hairdresser of the Year. So the next morning I got on a plane back to Perth, and that's exactly where it started. I started working on the plane and I devoted all of my time. You know, I would be laying in bed at night and I would be thinking about this collection, and I'd have to get out of bed and draw. And every time I got on a plane or when I had a moment, I was thinking about it. I literally spent the whole year preparing myself for this collection, and I want to take you guys on a bit of a journey with me in terms of what I had to put in to get to the result that I'm so proud to say that I am WA Hairdresser of the Year. And I can still say to this day that from that collection, when I shot it in June last year, and preparing for what's ahead of me, I have learned so much and evolved so much that I'm really excited to share with you guys this amazing stuff that you can see behind me, because I learned so much. But I must admit, the biggest thing was all my failures was actually what created some really beautiful looks. So I'm going to take you through that. And there was some things that I didn't know how to do. I'll be very honest with you. There was things that I was diving into where I had no idea how to create, and it took researching and looking up certain people on social media and making sure that my social media and my Pinterest board was flooded with all the things that inspire me. So let's get straight into it. So as you guys saw, a video of the BTS of me creating all the different looks. So when I was going into this, I have all my photos that I printed out. So before I even started this collection, I had to channel what was kind of my inspiration, what was inspiring me, what was driving me. And I think the biggest thing I said to Andrew O'Toole, the amazing photographer, was I do beautiful hair. And that's something that I wanted to carry out through this collection. I wanted to stay true to who I am. And that was the biggest thing. And, I think there's something really beautiful about executing beautiful hair really, really well. And I think that's what I did. And I stuck to who I am. I stayed in my lane. I knew what I did well, and I really focused on that. So at the start, the best thing I can ever give you guys advice on is, as you guys can see, is finding 100 photos. So whatever is driving you and inspiring me. And I know for this collection, that caramel, blonde, brown kind of mocha tones was the core front for me. That was something that was driving me. It was something that I wanted to have throughout every single photograph. So when I was looking through the vision, I was going through and finding anything that was drawing me to that kind of that key aspect. And as you can see throughout the photos, you know, you find 100 photos and then you kind of start to narrow it down. And I'm a big, I love Pinterest. Like you'll see my Pinterest boards, and I just find myself so drawn to Pinterest. And then on my Instagram account, I'll make sure that I'm always following the right people that inspire me as well. If you have any questions on who I like to follow, please put them in the comments and I'll be able to let you know. But as you can see throughout all of these vision boards, there is very much a set tone. So having a really clear tone is what kind of drove me to each of one of the hair looks for the collection. I look at these now and I'm like, wow, like they're so beautiful, but I also can see myself evolving and growing when I start to look at new vision boards. And it's really exciting to see where the inspo was and how I took it and made it my own, which is really beautiful. So that's always the first thing, always finding 100 photos, and then you start to narrow it down. So after finding all of those photos, then you start to narrow it down, which I'll start to show you so you can see. And then you start to put it together. So for me, it was finding, you know, those 8 core photos and then starting to work with the models that you're going to pair up with. So before I even started thinking about what look was going to go with who, it was actually, okay, well, who do I want to shoot with and what's their hair like? And then that's how I allocated what hair would go on. So as you can see, I came up with my 8 core looks. We shot, I think 7, maybe 8 on the day, just for backup. So that's always a really good idea as well. Always plan to have 8 photos, if not more, because you will choose your 6. And sometimes, you know, at least you've got a couple backup, which is really amazing. So then once I started to kind of find my 8 really strong pictures, then I start to work with who I want to go with each category. And, you know, all of these vision boards that you're seeing, I just do them on Canva. So I have so many different vision boards on Canva that's always driving inspiration. But a really good start is starting on Canva. Once you get to figuring out who's your model with each hair look, then I start to think about, and I look at each person. This is something that Andrew is incredible about, and he's also taught me is, you know, make sure when you are choosing someone that's going to shoot in your collection, you want to see them from the front to the side, the back. You want to see every angle. And I think that's something that I have continued to take on board, because when you are choosing someone to shoot, they might have a really strong front on, and that's beautiful, but there's a certain hair look that may be on the side. So you want to make sure that you can see what their side profile as well. So I think that's incredible knowledge that, you know, from years of working in the industry, he's been able to pass on, and I'm so grateful for that. So when I'm looking at casting each person, I'm not just grabbing one photo, I'm grabbing 3 different photos just to make sure with the hair look, it's going to look really beautiful. This is when I start to go really in depth. So again, you know, in the background, you're still working and putting all these hair pieces and trialing and failing and learning and researching. But for me, it was a matter of, you know, you're figuring out what the shot is. Is it front? Is it side? Is it back? You're figuring out the hair look. Then you're making sure that your color background is exactly the key aspect. So you're driving that inspiration throughout the whole thing, which I think is really important, because you want to tell a story. And again, going back to doing really beautiful hair, you want to tell that story and make sure that carries it out. And I think throughout the collection, you will see that it is a very clear story, and I'm really proud of that. So then you start to look at, you know, your styling and your references, and you go through makeup and the shoot as well. So I go through and I do this for 10 different looks. So I'm making sure that I've got my reference pictures, I've got my model, front, side or back, whatever they're going to be shot in, and then also making sure you have a very clear vision of what your background wants to be, to make sure it carries through with all the color work, which plays a huge part, which we'll go into. So as you can see, we go through each different specific, making sure that it's very clear for everyone that's a part of the team. And I think that just means that you're all on the same page. I always say clear is kind, so making sure that everything is kind of put in the shoot doc, so there's no, on the shoot day, you know that everything is really clear, which is really beautiful. At the end, I'll go through like the timeline, because that's something that I definitely have learned so much. And I won't lie, like I remember sending the timeline and everyone was like, Jaimme-Lee, we aren't shooting till 8 p.m. at night. So I have learned so much along that way, but I'm so grateful again to have Rachel, who's also part of our global brand artist team. And she was my mentor, and I'm so proud to have her a part and educate me and mentor me through this. So there are so many beautiful people that contribute to this photo shoot, and I'm so grateful. So I'm really excited to be talking with you guys today and share all my knowledge. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to start with my copper look. So it is a really beautiful, which actually is this cover, and you can see on the screen. Oh, she looks so beautiful. This is the cover for the Ausdare education team in Australia. And I'm so proud. It is such a beautiful shot and I love it so much. But how I created that look, there was so many different things that came into place with that. And I think the one thing, it's a beautiful shot with a beautiful model, beautiful styling. The photography is everything. The lighting is everything. But the biggest thing I remember thinking, it can't just be a curl. It needs to be more. There needs to be more execution. You need to see a technical side to it. So for me, when I was coloring her hair, which I'm going to go through some color formulas as well if you guys are interested. So before we get into it, I'll let you know what her color formula was. So Ash came in and she hadn't had her hair colored in, I think, about a year. So it was a very dull, kind of washed out brown. But I wanted to make sure I kept it on the demi-permanent range because she's doing photo shoots quite a lot. So I want to make sure that it's really versatile, that she can have really beautiful hair for any photo shoot that she walks into. So what I did on her roots was 666, or if you work in letterings, it's 6RR. I used 643, which again is 6. I just had blank, C, G, copper gold. And then I also added some 735, which is 7GM. And I used that with 4%. So we've gone through and popped that all throughout her roots and just dragged it down really beautiful. And as you can see in the photo, it has that depth at the root. And that's something that I really wanted to carry out through all the collection. There was lights and there was shadows as well, which was really beautiful. Her ends we just went through with 666 and 943 with 4%. So you can see that the ends have got that really beautiful kind of shine, and also they're a little bit lighter, which is perfect. Then to add to it, because again, she had really beautiful long hair, but I needed to add more to it. It couldn't just be her hair, because when you got it in shot, you want to expand it. You want to make it look really beautiful. So I have gone through with, and I have her hair pieces here, and I went through and did the exact same on her extensions. So these were blonde to begin with. So we've gone through with the 666 and the 943 with 4% to color these. And then on some of them, we've gone through with the 666, 643, and 735 with 4%. And that was because when we layered these along her hair, I wanted to make sure that there was highs and lows throughout the hair. And I think once you curl it, you can really see that. But again, when you are creating a really beautiful, because when you look at it, the technique is the same. It's just repeated and repeated. And I think that's what, when you are starting to look at editorials and competitions, I start to see something that's very similar. There is a repetitiveness, and it's an execution of a skill done really, really well and repeated and repeated and repeated. And now with the experience, I've started to pick up on that, and it's really cool that I can identify it. So with her hair, we curled her hair really, really small curls. So this was one of them that I wanted to show you. And the way I did that, which I'm going to grab, is by using a very, very small tong. So this is almost like the tiniest I think you can get. And just by wrapping and wrapping and wrapping, you're going to create really beautiful looks. But the one thing that I will say is some on her hair, we actually took quite bigger sections. So on some of the hair extensions, we used quite small pieces, and on her hair we did as well. But then in other sections, what we would do is use quite larger sections, and that was again creating the same technique, but just repeated and repeated, but also by using different sectioning patterns, which will then give you all the beautiful different curls within the same hair, which I think was really beautiful, and it worked amazingly. The other way that we curled was by using another small tong. So again, the same technique on, using two different tools was a smaller tong. And that was again to create different ripples within the hair. Instead of just being a curl, I wanted to make sure that I could show versatility and different technical skills. So again, by using two different types of curling tools and using two different colors with the extensions is what gave us that really beautiful look. But what I will say is on the day, we wanted to start off by doing something different. So this was actually something that we got to in the end, and I think is really beautiful once you trust the process and, you start somewhere and then you see where it ends. And I'm so grateful again for having that experience to learn from. So the first look was 3 donuts and I sewed them all together, and I wanted to make some height to it. So this was a look that we started with in the morning, and the look that we were creating was almost like, if you can see, I wanted to apply it to her head and then have all the curls going up. So it was almost like creating this really beautiful elongated shape. And with all the hair being curled and with all the extensions being put up, it was a matter of brushing it all up, which was really beautiful. And the shot was really gorgeous, but we believe that this shot was stronger. So after trialing that and then pulling everything out and keeping all the extensions in and just brushing and just kept brushing and molding and then adding a bit of wind, that's what created that really beautiful look. And I am obsessed with it. I think it's hard to say if it's one of my favorites because I think all of them are one of my favorites. But when I got to see that come to life, there was something that just lit up inside of me, and I was like, okay, I've got this, let's go. So it was a really good way to start. And I think if I was to go into another competition, I would always start with my really strongest look. And I think that's because it set the tone for the day. I felt really confident. I felt really good. And I was ready to kind of tackle anything because the first shot was done quite early and we could move really fluidly. And I think that's really important as well. So that's how I created the first look, which I'm obsessed with. And again, being able to be on the cover of the Ausdare calendar, I'm just forever grateful and I'm so proud as well. So I'm obsessed with that. And then let's go into my second look, which was something that I kind of worked with. It's the finger wave one. So we'll bring it up on the screen and I'm going to show you how I created those finger waves. And this is again something by learning and failing. And I remember someone saying to me, I think it was my boss when I was an apprentice, I did something once and I was really proud of it. And I was like, yes, I've done it. I don't need to do it again. And she said to me, no, you do it again. And I was like, but I did it really well. So there's something about being put in a situation and doing it over and over again. And that's exactly where I felt with this look. So I do still have some of the finger waves, and the way I created them was by using the I Want Body volume foam and making sure the hair was completely wet with product. So not with water because that's moisture. I wanted to use the I Want Body volume foam and create these looks. Now, again, these are just clip-in extensions, and I would lay down, say, for example, if you've got a table like mine or even just an empty floor, and you just lay all the extensions down. Imagine if you have, say, for example, this, you're going to just lay that completely down, and then you're going to load it up with your I Want Body volume foam. Now, I did these, and I'm not even going to word of a lie, I think I did these probably, I want to say 50 times, maybe even more. And it was because I was trying to find a way to create a wave, but that didn't look like a finger wave that quite traditionally is quite strong. I wanted something to be quite hard. And as you can see in the photo reference, like it had that really hard shape. And that's something I think when I was working on this collection, I love the difference between like a dry texture and a wet texture. And I think throughout each look, you can really see that element play. And there's something beautiful about it. And it kind of reminds you of nature as well. There's always, you know, something that's dry and wet. And I think that's where inspiration really comes from, for me especially. So as you can see, these are, you know, been shot and been boxed away for almost like a year, and they're still really, really hard. So after you go through with the I Want Body Volume Foam, you go through and what you'll do is you'll comb it down, and all you'll need to do, for me, this is what worked for me, is all I had to do was see this little in mark. I just push the hair this way. And because the hair has got so much product in it, it will just go through that way. And then by using your tail comb, you push the hair going that way. So you're almost creating that finger wave by almost just pushing it in different directions. The first time I tried to do it, and again, I always learn from my mistakes, was I was trying to traditionally do a finger wave. I was putting my hands there and kind of pushing the hair. And I did have a lot of struggle with that. And I found the best way was once the hair was all combed out, it was just a matter of pushing the hair to each side in different directions. And that's how I got these really beautiful finger waves. Another really great thing that I learned with this collection was don't just rock up with 2 or 3. I mean, we might see 5 to 6 in that hair. You rock up with maybe 20, if not more. So that was definitely something that I learned throughout this collection, was to always be prepared. And I think I'm a pretty prepared person, but on the day I was like, I should have done 10 more of these. And I think I did about 10, but I probably should have done like 10 to 15 more. And I think I had 10 of the brown, I had 10 of the blonde just to be prepared. But something that I will definitely pass on my knowledge is if you're doing a look, don't just come with 1 or 2, come with 20 if you can, which I think you just never know when you need to pull something out of your kitchen sink. So these were the beautiful looks. Once you have created the ripple effect on the extensions, now these still have the clips on them. So this was really easy just to clip onto the hair. And as you can see underneath, we actually put one right on the front. And this look took a couple of times. We were moving them around, changing them all around just to make sure they would fit the way that we wanted them to fit. But once they are into your position of the shape that you want, using the flexible hold hairspray to secure it. And when I say like you want it to look wet, make sure you use a lot of the flexible hold hairspray because it will create that really firmness. And then I could travel with them as well. Because I'm in WA on the West Coast, I flew to Melbourne, which is on the East Coast. So I needed to make sure that every prep that I did was very secure. So using the flexible hold hairspray was like my best friend throughout this whole collection because I knew that it was versatile. I could brush it out if I needed to. And again, that's where that wet and that dry texture came into play. With that look, we tried a couple of different looks. And again, this is just when you're on a photo shoot. I had created these pieces, and on one of my reference photos I had seen something very similar, and I was like, how do I incorporate that? How do I kind of make that into something with the look that you're seeing on the screen? So I had just bought some synthetic hair and I had wrapped hat elastic through the top and created this shape. And you know, there was a couple of times where we clipped it onto the back so you could see that at the front. And then again, we just keep trialing. And because I was prepared and I had, you know, enough of these and enough of the finger waves, you could keep trialing and adding, which I think was really beautiful about it. So again, I came prepared and, you know, made sure I had everything in my kitchen sink. So that was my next look. And then we'll go into the pattern work, which again, is probably like one of my favorites. This was one of the pattern works that I had to prep, I think, the day before. So I've got it up here actually. So this is the beautiful pattern work and I still get them. So when I was working on this look, I wanted to use the model for the two different looks. So Lillian was the model that I used for that really beautiful plait. And then she was also my next model for the pattern work. So when we were coming up with this, what happened was I started to create a really beautiful big hair ladder. So for those of you that don't know what a hair ladder is, it's where you create ladders and ladders of hair. So as you can see behind me, this was one that was in the making for the pattern work that I was like, yep, it's going to be really, really long, and I'm going to have it down, like, you know, falling almost to her ankles. But then when we started to work with it and the vision started to come to life, what my collection was missing was some really beautiful color work. So these are all hair that I have sewn on the top, as you can see. You have a very thin layer of just a very sheer material. And this is how you create a hair ladder. So you then, if you wanted it even longer, you would then sew more hair to the very bottom and you would create this really beautiful look. So when I was working on this look that you can see on the screen, I originally thought it was going to be so much longer. So again, I was prepared if, you know, we turned around and was like, actually, I want more hair in, let's make it longer. But I knew that when I was coloring the hair wefts the day before, I wanted to make sure that where you can see them was exactly in certain pieces of her face shape, which I think just really made the collection really beautiful. So how I created the pattern work, and I've also got the color formulas as well for you on that one, was, as you can see, and again, I'm so grateful to have Rachel as my mentor. She helped me work through this paneling technique, and I learned so much, and she educated me through it. And I think in the shot, it's just so beautiful. And I think it's because it was in reverse. What you normally see is, you know, the sharp line here, and then it's feathered down, where, as you can see, we have a really sharp line and feathered above. So this was something, you know, we were working with when I was prepping all the models and doing all the color work when I got to Melbourne. And the way Rachel educated me and taught me through this was by laying out your pieces of hair. So if, again, you have a really clean surface, the best advice I can give you is either just put some Glad wrap and lay the Glad wrap as flat as possible as you can, and then sticky tape it down. So that way you're not getting any color on our color benches, or you're not making a mess as well. So for example, I'm going to show you. I've got some conditioner here, so I'm going to show you how I went about doing it. Yes, with the color, which I will let you know. So for this panel was, for all these panels, was 50 and 503 with a little bit of 67 with 2%. So that was the formula for the look that you can see on the screen. And I'm going to show you. So I'm going to just move my camera and let me know if you guys can't see it. Perfect. So once you lay your hair really nice and flat. All right, cool. So you guys can see. If you can't see as well, just let me know. And then I'm going to grab, I've got a bowl and a tint brush. Now, there's a couple of different ways you guys can create this, but for us, this is what we did. So when you have a really nice flat canvas and you've laid out everything and you're happy with the position, now for us, we needed to think in reverse, which again, sometimes I found myself being like, because you want a straight line and then feather it up. So you're actually working against the hair. So again, we're going to make sure it's really nice and flat and all combed out. Using a bit of the flexible hold hairspray, again, is going to be your best friend. So as you guys can see, there's a very clear, distinct line of where we wanted it to be. And these lines need to be so sharp. And in the last, in the photo that you see, it is quite distinct. And I think in such a beautiful collection, it just kind of gave it like, oh, look how beautiful, like when the wind just sweeps it, you can see that really beautiful line. So there's a couple of different ways you can create this technique. On the day, we actually just used some cardboard. I'm just going to use a foil board just to show you. But what you can see is where you want that line to be, you're going to make sure that you place it there, and whoever's holding it, I had my amazing team. I flew them all to Melbourne to help, because you can't do a collection like this without your army, and they were incredible. They, got off the flight, they came straight for prepping, and, they were there every step of the way, and I'm so grateful to have them a part of it, because again, you can't do a collection without your army. So I'm so glad that I was able to create that opportunity for them. So as you guys can see, where that really straight line is, that's where you're creating either, you can use cardboard like we did. I'm using a foil board. You could also use sticky tape, which would also be really good. Now, using your tint brush, now again, I'm using conditioner just to kind of show you to go over it. You're going to go through, and again, let me know if you guys can't see. Someone is holding it for you. So you've got someone holding this really, really tight. And then you also have someone holding that, because you don't want the hair to move. So I'm going to hold this just so you guys can see it. And then you're going to make that line really, really straight. So again, I'm just using conditioner just so you guys can see. But you need to press down and come up. And that was something that Rachel taught me, because if you're not bringing your brush straight up, you're going to get all those little flicky marks. And I think that was something that I was really mindful. I didn't want to get little spots on all the blonde pieces. So you paint down and you come straight up. So you're not disturbing any of the hair. Because with this type of panel work, you need to remember that you're working in a different way of the way the hair falls. You're working against the cuticle instead of working down with the cuticle. So again, I'm just pushing it down, and that's how you got that really beautiful straight line. Then depending on how far you want to continue it, you're making sure the hair is really saturated. And then you're just using your wrist. The wrist is the most important part about this. And that's what Rachel taught me, because otherwise you're going to get really those lines, and it's all about just using your wrist, just like that. And I think when you're doing any type of contour work or balayage work, it's always in the wrist action. Beautiful. So you're doing this continuously, and as you can see, when you take away your board, you're going to have that really beautiful straight line, and then all that hair is going to be feathered out. So when you're creating different panels like this, you can do them in any different way and create anything that you would like to create. And I think that was the really cool thing about this collection was, we changed it to how we want it to look, and I formulated the color that just worked really perfectly. So when you are creating type of panel work, I think the best advice I can give you is making sure that you've got a really clear space for to put your glad wrap down, having lots and lots of hair, because again, on that day, these were actually longer again, like this hair work that I made, the letter. And on the day, we just decided to cut it off. So I'm so glad that I'd done the panel works enough that when I went and chopped it, the color work was still in the hair. So again, making sure that you have loads and loads of hair, and we had paneled a couple so we could put them wherever we wanted, which is really beautiful. Amazing. So let's go into the plait one, which is all different plaits and all different twists. This was something that was really important to me because I wanted to show, diversity, and I wanted to show that I could work on all different hair types and textures. With my amazing partner and his family, I was so lucky enough to, work with his mom and ask, and understand how to create this really beautiful look. So with the plait look, I'll bring them all up. Again, like I spoke to you guys about how much hair I had, I'm going to just show you. So again, these all get boxed up after my collection, and I'm starting to revisit them all now and go through the hair and see what I've got. So with this beautiful plait twisted look, I would be at my mother-in-law's house every weekend, and I was learning how to do it. And then even Taylor that's in the team, she's amazing at twisting. So again, you can't do this without your army. And she taught me because I'm not very good at it. So you're always learning from, mistakes and trying to learn. So the way I created this look, which we'll bring up in just a moment on the screen, was I got I think 5 different colors hair, and I mixed the 2 colors together. So my mother-in-law taught me how to, I guess, attach it to a wire. And the reason why I wanted to create it on a wire, because when you see the photo, I could mold it however I wanted. So again, that was the beauty of having it all on a wire, because once I applied it to the hair by just twisting it on, I could change the shape of however I wanted. So by making sure that I had enough plaits on wires, different colors, and you can see that some are plaits, some are twists, and making sure that, again, they're all different colors as well. As you can see, some will go for a wire all the way down, and then I wanted this softness throughout the ends. And on the very bottom, they're just attached with an elastic. And then on the day, we decided just to chop the ends off because it looked nicer. So I've got all different colors and all different shapes and sizes. And the way we applied this on the day was by slicking the model's hair using the slick pomade. There it is. So you can see, that doesn't look like a lot, but this is like a whole box worth of hair. And I'm so grateful that, again, we had done so many, but on the day I had spare hair and we were still doing more just in case, because I think you can never have enough. And I think as the look started to evolve, we kept adding more and more. So how we achieved this look was by slicking her up in almost, I think we had maybe 4 ponytails. And then because these were all on wires, I, again, always like to be prepared. It was a matter of just turning the wire and wrapping it around her hair. So therefore, when it was in the hair, on the ponytail, I could shift however I wanted it to. So again, some are on wires, some are not on wires. So then we got all different variations. And this, is just a combination with a loop on top. So again, I could just either pin it to her hair or again, attach it to the ponytail. So this is a full box of all different colors, all different shapes, all different sizes, some plaits, some twists. And this was something that was really special to me because I was working, with my mother-in-law, and she was educating me on how to do it. And I think that was really special about this collection, that I wanted to show that I could create and work on all different types of hair textures and understand the culture behind it, which I'm really passionate about. So this was, I guess, the vision. If I show you what the vision came from, this was the vision that came from. And then you take a vision and then you make it your own. So I think that's one thing, seeing something that inspires you, but then how do you change it? How do you make it different? And that was one of the looks that I kind of drawed inspiration from. Beautiful. So let's go through the textured one, which is another one of my favorites. I'm going to probably say that for all of them. And I still have I love that one. I'm going to show you the look because I still have all of the hair from it, but I actually want to show you what got me to this look, because I, again, was doing so much research. I knew the colors that I wanted to create within her hair, but I had to make some mistakes and I had to learn from them. And by researching, and then at the last minute, I was like, this is so much better and I can do it like this. So again, trust the process, I think. But I have most of the hair on my dolly head, so as you can see. And I also have the formula, which I will let you know. So for the roots, which is the darker area, we've used 50, 503, and 67 with 2%. And then on the mid-lengths, as you can see, it's a lighter brown. We used 80, 703, and a cap of 943 with 2%. And then on the ends, we've gone through with 10-1 and clear with 2%. So I wanted to see a really gradual change in the color. So from light to dark, almost really, really light. And I think that's when you start to create these really beautiful ripples in the hair. You can see all of that, and I love that so much. However, it didn't always start as this, and I'm going to show you where it started from, because I think there's something really beautiful about it. So again, as you can see, the color work, so the color panels. So by using a really gradual fade from a dark to a little bit lighter to a lighter. But where the inspiration came from was this box over here. Okay. I have so many of them, you won't believe me. Okay, I'll bring out a couple. Okay. So you guys will be like, wow. So this all created from this look. So very similar. The technique and the ripple is all the same, and the color pattern is very similar. So I created these to begin with, and I've created like, I think 100 of them. And it started off by 4 different colors doing the same ripple effect and then sewing them all together. So originally I was going to put this all on the head, which is very similar. It would have looked really beautiful, and just layering them throughout the head. And that's where the inspiration first started from. And then I had an idea that I wanted to do the exact same, but in a continuous piece, same coloring pattern and the same technique. And I'm so glad I did. But again, I'm so grateful that I learned from that, because then what it turned out to be was so beautiful. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how I created all those really beautiful ripples, if you've ever wondered how. So in your kit, in your kitchen sink, I, just went to a craft store, or you can go to like a Bunnings or anything, and I bought lots and lots of wire. And the reason why I bought lots of wire is because, one, for all the plaits, you just never know when they're going to come in handy, but you can make your own shapes. And I have done this technique with a U-pin, which is a French pin, which works really well. However, it would have taken me ages to create all of this. So I bought some wire and I created my own. You can also use them using coat hangers if you want to cut your coat hangers, which is also a great alternative. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to show you. So again, let me know if you guys can't see. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And by using different types of sectioning patterns, you go through at the top and you're going to lock it in through here. So as you can see, I've got the wire through here and you're locked in through the hair. Now, it's a very repetitive technique, and you're just going to continue the same technique. So I'm going to go really slow so you guys can see. But you're sifting the hair through and keeping that really tight at the root area. So I'll do a couple more so you guys can see. It is quite a tedious process, but again, it's the same technique repeated and repeated. The tighter you go, the tighter your ripple will be. So we had some that were really, really tight and then some that were really, really loose. And again, having that color combo just made that beautiful collection come to life. And you keep going all the way. As you start to get tighter and tighter, you may need to pull your wire out just so you can make sure that you get your hands in there. And then once you do them over and over, you'll get really, really quick. Now, you can use a bobby pin to secure it. However, because you're working with a wire, I just twisted the bottom and then I knew that it was going to stay nice and put. If you are short for time, you can always straighten it and clamp it so you get the heat from it, which I did do when I originally did it. And then on the shoot day, I pulled them all out, but I didn't brush them out until it was all sewn into her hair. And then we started to play around with the shape. So from something that started with this, turned into this incredible look, which I'm just obsessed with, because I think, again, you learn from all your mistakes, and something that started here then was evolved to something I think even more beautiful. So I absolutely love that. And I think, again, that technique, it's a technique that anyone could do, and it's just repeated and repeated over and over. So a really highly executed skill and repeated with the beautiful color work, which just made that shot so beautiful. Amazing. So let's go into the one that has the really beautiful plait. And this is something that, I just love it so much. This shot, I think, speaks for itself. It is executed so well, and I think just the colors that work within the hair to create everything, I'm just obsessed with. So again, having the hair as long as possible for me, and then it was going through with all different foiling techniques, so to create all those different colors that you can see within the hair, was the first thing that I needed to do. And before we finish up, I'll bring that BTS video, because now that I've spoken to you guys all about it, you actually probably see, oh, that's that color work as well. So it was a matter of coloring all the different hair, different colors, and putting different tonals through it. So when you go through and plait the hair, you could see it. But the biggest thing I think for this look, it was executed so well. And the reason why was because using the 11 Australia products to prep all of the hair before the hair even went onto the model was key. So using your I Want Body Volume Foam is a key core product that was used throughout this. Using the sea salt texture spray as well, just to create that memory and that airiness to the hair, it almost just fattened everything up. And when I was going through and plaiting it, I had the model in exactly the position that she was going to be. And it was a matter of kind of molding the hair to her body and then placing it exactly. Because at the bottom, as you can see, that there is no elastic. It is just that product that is holding onto that hair. So, you know, using the 11 Australia products really worked in my favor, because I didn't need to put an elastic. It would have changed the whole look. And I think that having that memory using the products is what executed, as well as my skill set, this beautiful look. And it was a matter of having all the hair, you know, glued into the model. And then all the hair had been prepped before it even went in. And then once she was dressed, plaiting around to her. And it was an inspiration that came from the mood board. And again, I didn't want it to be the exact same. And it almost looks like a scarf is over her hair. And it's just such a beautiful look. And Lillian was, we used her for 2 looks. So again, that pattern work. So we were able to keep all the hair in her and then add the panel work, which just, I think, was executed so beautiful. And I absolutely love this. So this was a really combination of coloring, you know, all different panels throughout the extensions, and then going through and layering the products from 11 Australia before I even got to the photo shoot. Again, you want to have as much prep work before you even go on. You don't want to be drying in product. You don't want to be doing any of the blow drying or straightening. For me, this was all done before I got onto the day. And then it was a matter of gluing this in. And then once she was dressed by the incredible stylist, Ella, I then went through and plaited it to make it almost look like. Adding a little bit of wind is what you can see on her face, those really beautiful flyaways, which just made the shot. So having lots and lots of hair, colouring different panels of pieces that you can see, and then also using the 11 Australia products to prep was key for this look. Amazing. And then let's go into, what one have we got left? So we've done this look, we've done that. I think that's all of them, isn't it? Yeah, we've gone through the plait. Oh my God, that's all of them. Oh, they look so beautiful. And I just absolutely love seeing them still to this day. And I know like after you do a collection, you know, people are like, you don't want to look at it because you do sometimes get over it, but still seeing it on the screen, I'm just so proud and I absolutely love every single look. But don't get me wrong, I think about 3 looks, like I said, that didn't make it. And that's just from trialing, which I actually do have here and I'll show you guys. So this was another look that again, I was working with and trialing. It probably, see if you can see it come to life, but this is all sewn on with leather. So when you start to put a collection together, you kind of want to pull things from other areas. So for me, what that was meaning was maybe incorporating material or incorporating beads or anything like that. So this is just a leather wire and I've sewn on hair around. So this was a look that we did trial on the day and I had 2 of them. And again, on her face, we kind of wanted to have it hanging over. So this was something that didn't make it. But again, it's something that I had to try or I had to play with. And I did 2 of them as well. So we did both sides. But I want you guys to think that, you know, you can create something really beautiful by, you know, having wire and leather as well. And I could have molded this however needed to be. And I think that's why wire became my best friend with this collection, because I got to play around with all different shapes as well. So that was one look that didn't make the cut. And then I'll show you another one. So like I just spoke about having like material and leather, I just went to a craft store and I bought heaps of different leather, again, still keeping it on the tonal panel of the whole collection, otherwise it wouldn't work. And you won't believe what I did, but with all of these different leathers, I stayed up and I cut and cut all of these pieces of leather. And I also have a suede one as well. And the vision was to make this and look and mimic hair. So it's pretty incredible that I actually did this now that I look back. But the vision was there to almost have this mimic hair onto a model. And again, it didn't make the cut, but I was so grateful that I was prepared for anything. And, you know, I might look back at this and be like, actually, I'm still going to use all of these things. I might just turn it into something different. So that was another look that didn't come to life, but I'm so proud of it. And then another one, I actually have the wig, which I'll pull out for you. So this was a wig that I had colored and I was cutting and I was working on. And it was really beautiful, and it has, as you can kind of see, it had all the steps along the hair. And I love the color. I think the color was beautiful. And when everything started to come to life, and like I was saying, you have your 8 really, really strong looks. When something else becomes stronger, one comes out. And I think that's what this was. This was really strong to begin with, and then another look came in, like the plait, and then one has to go. So that's something that will happen when you are working on your collection, especially when you start to get those 100 photos, is you start to find your core 8, and then you'll find another one and you'll be like, oh, that one doesn't work, and that one comes in. And that's kind of the headspace that, you know, going into again is like finding these really beautiful inspiration photos that how you can make your own. And then you continue to find things. And just going back to like all the mood boards, I print these all off. So as you can see, I print every inspo photo out and I will put them on my wall. I will look at them every single day. Call me wild. But this is a collection that I'm so proud of, and, you know, the hard work and the sacrifice that went into this really paid off. And I'm so grateful for everyone that was involved. And, you know, using the 11 Australia products and the 11 Australia color just really brought my vision to life. And, you know, having, like I said, an incredible mentor, Rachel, who's, you know, with the Global Brand Artist team, I'm so grateful. But this wouldn't have been possible without all of those people together, and the hard work and the dedication and the sacrifice. So if you are thinking about getting into competition work, the best advice I could give you is be true to who you are. And I think that's what I did really well, is I know what I do best, and I really wanted to execute that really well. And for me, I wanted to stay on brand, and I know what I'm really good at and what my brand is. So I really wanted to play into that and show people in the hairdressing industry that I can execute hair really beautiful and do it really well and show skill set. And I'm really excited about the future because I feel like I've grown and evolved so much, and I'm in the same headspace of my brain is going 1,000 miles at once, and I'm finding so much inspiration, and I'm so excited about this industry. It makes me so excited to be a part of it. But as you guys can see, I have so much hair and so many things in my kitchen sink. Like, again, this was another look that I was working on and didn't come to life. But it just kind of happens. And I think there's such a beautiful thing about it, of doing your research and finding things and seeing what works and what doesn't work and moving forward with that. So before I love and leave you guys, I hope you guys have had the best hour learning everything about my collection that won me the WA Hairdresser of the Year. But before we do, let's just play that BTS video to finish up with. And then if you guys have any questions or you want to send me a message, please do, because I'm always here. I absolutely love that. As you can see, all of the things that I've spoken about and how we went into creating those looks, you saw very raw images, real videos of us trialing it, getting my girls to put their hair in. And there's just something so beautiful about it. So I'm going to love and leave you, but thank you for spending the hour with me, coming on a journey. And I can't wait until I talk to you guys again. But please send me a message if you guys have any questions. Bye.
The luxury of self-destruction to be self-aware.